Hi everyone and welcome back to Splash Page. I'm Sean and as always I'm joined by Andrew. And
Hey!
today we're going to start something new. We're calling it the Splash Page Weekly Debate, where we will have three questions that are kind of relevant to what's going on in pop culture right now in the comic and movie world. And every once in a while we'll do a little throwback as well, but we will ask three questions and give you our answers and debate them when necessary. But for the most part, we're just trying to have some fun and bring a few additional topics to the forefront and see what you guys think about them.
As of now, this is a working title, and the rules are being made up as we go along, so let's
A-
see how this works.
Absolutely. So, Weens, the first question for our weekly debate.
What
Um,
is it?
with DC running their little Comic Con esque event last weekend, we got a few new trailers and teaser trailers. And what I want to pose to you is which of these three movies are you most excited to see? The
All right, which
Batman,
ones?
The Flash, or Black Adam?
It's a good question. I will choose Black Adam. Mainly because I know the least about Black Adam, and it looked really cool, the teaser trailer they put out. There's not a lot of footage, and most of the trailer is The Rock standing in front of a green screen talking to us about how they're gonna have a trailer sooner or later. But the footage that they showed was really cool looking, and I am interested to see what happens there. It also looks like a super passion project from Dwayne Johnson, so that should hopefully put a lot of heart into this movie.
Yeah, I thought that looked way better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I've also heard that while Black Adam is a big Shazam villain to my knowledge, is they're not going to be really focused on in this film. So you are going to get kind of an independent film for Black Adam to really set him up as a character for DC. And
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I'm really excited for that one. I think it could be really cool and add a new layer to the DC EU that's kind of been missing outside of Shazam because everything else is kind of already laddered into the Justice League, and now we're starting to get these other stories outside with the Suicide Squad
Hmm.
and the Shazam, and now this, and it's kind of building the world not through one storyline, but several, kind of like what MCU did with Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant
Yeah.
Man and all these other stories that they eventually got wrapped in, but they were independent, just building the world so that they get more pieces to play with.
Right. Exactly. So looking forward to that. What about
Yeah,
you?
that'll be cool. For me, I think the movie I am most looking forward to is The Flash. And
Ooh.
to be completely transparent, I don't know if I love the way that the Flash has been represented so far in the DCEU, but I am very familiar with the Flashpoint story. And based on the trailer and everything I've read so far, it's looking like that's what the Flash movie is going to be based around. And as a Marvel guy growing up, and still to this day more of a Marvel guy, I am rooting for the DCEU to become just more of a juggernaut in the realm of comic book movies, and basically be a competitor or a one b a1 b1 whatever
Yeah.
scenario, because I just can't get enough of good comic book movies,
The
good superhero movies.
For them to come back and become the distinguished competition once again instead of just some other company kind of making
It,
movies that doesn't really
ex-
matter.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And knowing what the Flashpoint storyline is, it really gives the DCEU a chance to kind of reset itself a bit and put it back into a storyline, plot line, that can get a bunch of these stories that now feel a little desperate into kind of a bigger world. So I would say Flash, simply because I think the story they are telling is Flashpoint, and that's just a wonderful, wonderful comic.
100% agreed. If I didn't say Black Adam, I love the Flashpoint storyline. Ezra Miller's pretty good as the Flash. He gives more of a Wally West feel, which was my favorite Flash growing up. Not quite as jokey, silly, and he's got a smile that could be a pretty good Joker. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, that should at least be a great story. and that just leaves the Batman off the table, right?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm gonna see that movie. Of course, I'm gonna
Of
see that
course.
movie. But we've seen Batman in so many different iterations and in so many different ways.
You
Kind of a
said
unique.
Who Man? I've never heard of this.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
right.
he's
Yeah.
had 150 Batman movies, and it looks great, but it is another
Looks
Batman
awesome.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be great. And it looks like they're really leaning into kind of the film noir, David Fincher, like a Seven vibe to it. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be cool. I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. I'm definitely gonna watch it anyways. But for me, that feels more standalone than what Black Adam and The Flash could be.
Yep.
And before we jump into the second question, just a spoiler warning for season 2 of Invincible.
All right, you ready for question number
Let's do it.
two? Who who is the character you're most excited to see show up in Invincible season 2 that we haven't seen yet?
It's a great question, and obviously, two very knowledgeable Invincible fans here. But I think I'm going to go with the safest one, in my opinion, and that's Oliver. Oliver is
And he's definitely showing up in
100%,
season 2. He has
100%
to.
showing up in season
Yeah.
2 because you're not going to go a whole season without Omni Man. For me,
Mm-hmm.
Oliver is Mark's half brother, shared by his father, Omni Man Nolan, who goes to another planet and has a child with an alien. Oliver is a massive character in the comics. He similarly gets the invincible strength, so he becomes a superhero in his own right, and lives on Earth with both Mark and his mother. So he's going to be a character that drives his own story and really becomes a huge part of the Invincible universe. One that I felt is just really missing in season 1. Obviously, I know he's coming. I know he's not in season 1 because this story has to happen in this order. But definitely a character I
Yeah.
can't wait to see how they bring him to life.
I totally agree. I love the character of Oliver, but mostly for the questions it raises with how the Viltrumites' like DNA works and how it interrelates to other alien species, and they really get into a lot of that. What if an alien had offspring with a different alien that wasn't of Earth? How would that change things? It's a really interesting kind of
Yeah,
storyline there. I like that.
totally agree. What about you, Wayne? Who's the character you're most looking forward to meeting in season 2?
For me, it's Engstrom Levy, because that was one of the coolest kind of storylines when that came up that really made me happy. Just this mad scientist who's actually pretty sane. He has a brilliant idea to go through other timelines and collect all of his doppelgangers' memories and thoughts of the other timelines because, he could hop through timelines, but he didn't know anything about those other places. And he is actually like a good guy until his machine breaks down and there's that moment snap where he kind of becomes who he becomes, Angstrom Levy. And I really like that kind of that turn, that complete lack of understanding of how things happen, but that's how he runs his life.
Yeah, and that was a character, in my opinion, that I thought was missing from season 1, as opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see in season 2 alone. I'm pretty sure he was introduced fairly early in the comics, and maybe I'm just
It was a pretty
misremembering.
early. It was a pretty early storyline, I
But
think.
yeah, so I mean, he becomes a massive character in the middle and like to the 2/3 of the way through the comic. So really looking forward to seeing him too. I can't wait to see how they bring him to life and all the plots and things that he has going on. Again, Invincible's so great because it just has so many storylines that
Mm-hmm.
are bubbling in the background and at any moment can come up and be a few episode story arc, or it could just be one and done, or it could appear in the background. The It's
Mm-hmm.
really just a cool universe, a really well set up superhero universe. So
Because honestly, Oliver has to come in season 2, or at least at some point. They could honestly skip over Angstrom Levy for a couple seasons if they felt like it and still have a ton of story
yeah,
to tell.
that's very true. That is very true. I don't think they
Yeah.
will though. I think they're gonna get him in season 2, just because the
I
way
hope
that
so.
he kind of furthers the plot
And
significantly
keeps,
in
yeah.
like the second half of the comics. It's just too important to not get him in earlier. And for our third question of the day, Weens, which one of the seven from the TV show The Boys do you think is going to die first?
Okay, this is an interesting question because I do have an answer based on one thing, and let's just get into it. I think it's going to be A Train. Out
Okay.
of the seven, I mean, it's not going to be Homelander unless we do some kind of Game of Thrones thing where we kill off the lead character and go on a completely
Right.
different storyline. I don't think it's going to be Starlight or Noir. I think A Train, well, like we discussed, his story is kind of at a close, but even on top of that, he's got those heart problems that have been building up, and I don't know if he'll even be killed. He might just have his heart explode out of his chest with the drug
Yeah.
overdosing and the yeah. I think that's the
I
main reason I think he's going next. He's the least healthy of the seven, so to speak. Although Noir has
yeah,
his
I,
peanut allergy, so
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I could certainly see that happening. To your point, he was kind of the impetus for Huey getting involved with the boys. His girlfriend Pop Claw is the reason why the world knows about Compound V. We do know he has that heart issue as well, and those three things you could see Homelander getting kind of sick of him quickly and killing him with no
yeah.
problem. Never mind the natural causes that you just mentioned. I would say if this was an odds a betting thing, he might have the best odds because I would agree that he has kind of the least reason to be around still. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and that could set off a whole storyline about how V can actually be detrimental to the health of the heroes as well. So,
Right. Yeah.
what about you? What do you got? Who's next?
Yeah. I'm between two characters. For me, it's the Deep or Maeve.
Okay.
Um, and for me, I'm gonna go with Queen Maeve. I think the Deep has been too sparsely used, and has been used in kind of this weird way. He joined a cult. He kind of was ostracized because he raped Starlight, which is obviously a good reason to get him out of there. But there's still something to that character where I feel like he could add a lot to the story. Queen Maeve, on the other hand, we know is blackmailing Homelander with the video from the plane, and that Maeve has kind of selected her side. She's helping Starlight and helped the boys fight against Stormfront. So, if anything, giving the boys an extra soup on their side evens the table a little bit, even if Maeve's not going to be 100% on the
Right.
boys' side. And I feel like they have to get that more of an imbalance. And to do that, in my opinion, the best way is to kill off Maeve
Yeah.
in some kind of battle or something along the lines where one of the other boys kills her. But
You make a really
I'd
good
be,
point about, and I think I can now foresee Maeve dying before the blackmail comes out, and either her girlfriend or someone else puts that out, and even though she's dead, she's still attacking.
right, yeah. Yeah, it could be like from post mortem
Yeah.
attack.
Meanwhile, the
But yeah,
deep, they did so much with him last year, more so over the year before, and I didn't like him in the first season I liked him as a character, but a character that you don't like. But by season two, I love that guy. He's great.
yeah. And there's just too much still there. He has no story arc,
Yeah,
right? Like, he's either going to come back and be kind of a hero, or he's going to, go back and be one of the seven. And right now, he's just kind of on the outside. He's another pawn to be played with by the writers. And what we're hoping is that, he gets some kind of arc, whether it goes down or up. I feel like Maeve has had a story arc.
yeah,
She's been part of the seven and was going along with those things. We've seen her react to some of the messed up stuff that Homelander and Vought has done, and then she decided to fight for the other side. So we saw that growth, and her with her girlfriend as well, that relationship and what that meant to her. I could just see them losing that character, and kind of continuing to move the story. So I would say Maeve, Queen Maeve. You say A Train. I think those are both really good choices, and I guess we'll see who's
yeah.
right.
Unless we're both completely wrong and it's Homelander. Yeah.
Yeah, which is considering it's us, we're definitely wrong. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's right, but I know what's wrong. Well, thanks everyone. We hope you enjoyed our first ever debate on Splash Page. 3 questions.
Splash debate.
3 debates. Splash debate.
Page.
I don't know. We'll come up with something. But we'll be doing these weekly. So if you have a specific question you want us to discuss, put it down in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll just keep picking questions and feel free to debate them with us. So looking forward to seeing your comments. Weens, as always, it's been a pleasure. Take it easy, YouTube.
Later.